everybody, this is Kathy from More Fun with Felt. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do some super cute mummies. The one that we're going to end up doing is going to end up being about 8 inches tall. I have made a variety of sizes. I have some more that are not here with me today. They're so cute, they're fun to make, really easy. I would say the hardest part is going to be the armature. It's a beginner project, but with the armature, it might go to like beginner level 2, I would say. I'm going to teach you a real easy way to do it and go nice and slow for you so that you can catch it. So what you're going to need for the project today is some core wool roving. I got this from Living Felt. This is just their basic CW1 core wool. Also some white. You'll need not too much. We're just going to sort of do a quick cover up before we put the felt on. This is Winter White, also by Living Felt. You're going to need 3 little poles of these 3 colors. So this is a gray. This is actually Payne's Gray if you wanted this one. It's a core wool by Serafina Fiber Arts. This is a purple. I have no idea where I got this from. I've had this for quite some time. And you don't need much, just a pinch. And then again, a little pinch of black. This is a black MC1 from Living Felt, and that is going to be for the eyes. You're also going to need, move him out of the way. You're also going to need some 14 gauge wire. This is really good for armatures. It's nice and soft and easy to bend and work with, and also strong enough, to help him stand later, even though we'll probably end up putting them on a base. You are going to need some wire tools. So these are the 2 that I primarily use most. I have this little clipper, and then I have a needle nose, and it also has a clipper on it. I prefer to use this for needle nose only and this for clipping. I don't know why. You could only have one tool if that's all you have. That's fine. You're going to need some scissors. You are going to need, in the 14 gauge wire, let me go ahead and give you the sizes. So this is 20.5 inches, and this is 12 inches. So you'll need to make those 2 cuts on your wire. You're going to need felt, and I got this felt from Hobby Lobby in the fabric department where they have the big bats and rolls of fabric. So don't try to get the felt in little sheets. You're going to need much more of it because after this we're actually going to be doing not on this video, but my next video will be a little ghost. I use the same felt on that little ghost, so you want to make sure you get enough just so that you can do both projects. And if you wanted to make several mummies and several ghosts, you might need maybe a half a yard to a yard, depending on what you want to do with it. You'll know more after the video today. You'll need a ruler, and then of course a felting pad, and then you will need at least 2 needles. You're going to need a 38 spiral and a 42 for the eyes. One trick that I have is I have a 38 spiral that I use only for armature. It's actually coming off here, but it used to be labeled armature, and I only use that when I'm dealing with the armature, so that if I hit it, I don't really care about this needle. This is just a throwaway needle. So think about that. Like if you got some needles from beginner kits that are 38 or 36, you could even use that, and just only use it for when you're dealing with wire. And then as we get to the outer layers and we start adding more things on, then you can move to your better needles that you use all the time. That'll help you with less breakage. And let's see, is that it? I think that's it. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. These are falling everywhere. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is make the armature. So go ahead and cut 20.5 inches and then a 12-inch piece. And you are going to take the 12-inch piece first, and you're going to fold it down to where the ends meet. Hold on to those ends, and then just use your hands to sort of pinch it together at the top. Not necessary to pinch it all the way because this is going to be the head right here. And then using your ruler, just set it down there and get to your 1 1/4 mark. this is what I like to do. I crisscross the wire where it hits that 1 1/4 mark, put my finger on it, and then lift it up, and then twist. So you're going to want to do 3 twists. So that was 1, 2, 3. That makes your neck and your head. And then these will be the arms eventually. And you're going to just flatten those out like that. Sometimes I'll just go ahead now and pull out my head shape a little bit just so I can get, you know, a good picture of what I'm doing. And then you're going to lay that one down. Take up your 20 1/2 inch and you're going to do the same thing. Make sure you hold the ends. The most important part of this half of the armature is making sure that these ends stay even, level. So I'm going to keep folding them up, and this time I'm not going to leave a big gap. I'm going to hold my ends with my other hand, and I'm going to take my needle nose and I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze it. Not completely closed. You don't want it completely closed. You want to be able to sort of, you know, fit your pliers in there. Straighten those out, making sure that they're still level. Then you're going to take your head and the bend that we just made, you're going to slide right over the head. Whoops, let me do that again. Slide it right over the head and then don't drop it like me. Okay, so the back is going to look like this. So there's what we just slid over, and that's touching the neck. That's on the back now of the neck. It's going to want to naturally pop out. So what I like to do is hold the neck and the wire and then just sort of bend this down so it's straight. We just want a nice straight body, not one that's going all crazy. So now it should look like this. Okay. Then I'm going to hold the left side and behind the neck. And with this right side, I'm going to create the shoulder by bending back up around it. I want to keep this wire really tight. So back up around it and then over. I'm not turning this arm, I'm bending this wire. Okay, and then we're going to do it again. Nice and tight to the arm. Back up around it and then over. So those 2 bends created our shoulder. So let's do it on this side. I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to bend it back around the arm and over, and back around the arm and over. Now keep in mind, as I'm doing this, I am trailing down the arm just a little tiny bit. I don't want to do the bends and the folds right on top of each other. This is going to create my shoulder for me naturally so that I don't have to go back and try to create it later. So now it should look like this. Okay, and then we want to always just double check, make sure that our feet are the same length, because doing those bends can actually change your feet level. And then at that point you would have to make some decisions. Do I unfold it, redo it? Do I just keep going with it and see how it turns out? So if you can see, I don't know if you can see, I've made several. And, you know, once you start making them, you will sort of uncover all these little, you know, tricks and tips for yourself. You'll see. So now what we're going to do is we're going to lay the shoulders on the end of the ruler. And then we're going to do our crisscross at 2.5 inches. So I want my wires to cross right around 2.5 inches right there. Put your finger on it, pick it up, and then twist. And we're going to do 4 times. So that was 2, 3, 4. Okay. You can widen up your torso a little if you want. And then let's make sure that our feet are even. They are. Okay. So now at this point, we're going to do just like a little bit of maybe a 3/4 inch bend for the pelvis area. Not a big one, just to get some hips on our mummy here. And then at this point, it should look like this. So now we're going to go to the bottom of the leg, and we are going to measure 2.5 inches. Make sure that's the right measurement. Yeah. Okay, so 2.5 inches. I'm going to put my finger here at the end of the ruler, and I'm just going to bend this up to my finger. Do the same thing. 2.5 inches, put my finger here, bend this up. So now your feet should look like this. Okay, and then we're going to measure, sorry, it's going to be 1 inch from the heel. 1 inch from the heel. 1 inch from the heel, bend it back. And now I like to cross it over. So I've made my bend and I'm crossing over. And basically all that is here's my bend. If I hadn't crossed over, that's what it would look like. And I'm just taking it and putting it in front of the leg, crossing it over. And then I'm going to take my needle nose pliers, go on the end of the heel, and I'm just going to make a loop all the way around, just to where it kind of touches the leg. That crossover creates a little bit of stability there, even though these guys will, they can stand either on their own or just sit funny places, or you could put them on a base, which I'll show you later. Okay, so this one again, we're going to do 1 inch, bend it back. Make sure that's 1 inch. Didn't quite get 1 inch. Okay, so we're going to do 1 inch, bend it back, cross it over, and then turn this heel into the leg. This is all going to be covered with wool as well, so of course, so you don't have to worry about like if it looks beautiful. Then you're going to take your arms and you're going to fold your arms. Just, you don't need any more shoulder, you've already got your shoulder, so you're just going to fold the arms down to the side, both of them just down to the side where they would hang naturally. You're going to take your needle nose pliers and you're going to make a loop. Does not have to be a closed loop, just a loop. That's going to just represent where the hands are. And that is your armature. Super simple. I am going to go ahead and put some written out instructions for the armature as well. I'll probably add them to the video as well as make a downloadable PDF for you. And I can put that on my website, which is www.morefunwithfelt.com. So if you do want that, I'll put that down there as a free downloadable for you, no problem. I'm super visual, so for me, when people go slow and they also like draw it out for me, it makes it a lot easier for me to grasp it. And armatures were kind of hard for me in the beginning, so that's why I want to make sure I help you as much as I can. So, like I said, this will be about 8 inches. Once we get all of his stuff on him, he may even be 8.5. So that's about the size of the mummy that we're going to be making today. Okay, let me put him aside with all the other. mind that we do have another layer of wool, and then we're also going to have the bandages. So the more we add, the thicker he's going to get. But yeah, I just want to make sure that he doesn't look skinny. I don't want a skinny mummy. There we go. It looks a little bit better. I'm okay with the weird shape of his head. Part of me wants to felt this part down, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so when you get to this point, what we're going to do is we're going to take our winter white. This does not have to be super amazing cover here because it's going to be covered again with bandages. So I'm just going to take a thin layer. This batting comes in sheets, and if you pull the sheets apart like this, you can really save on your wool. So I'm just going to take a thin layer, and I'm just going to lay it over him, wrap it around, and wherever it falls, I'm just going to start felting there. Okay, so I got it around. The only reason for this layer, now this is my 42 that I'm using now. I'm only going to go sideways with this. I am not poking into armature at all because it will break. If I start to feel armature, I'm going to pull back. But the only reason we're doing this coat right here is because sometimes through the bandages, when you bend them, you can see the wool underneath. This is the same color as the bandages. So it's just going to look a little bit better for, you know, a finer piece. I've done them both ways. I've done them without this, and I've done them with this, and I just like them better with this because it looks more professional, especially if you're going to be selling them. I sell these at my trade show for $25. People don't blink at that. For this size. A smaller mummy, of course, would be different, or large if you did a really big one. Okay, so I'm just going to keep moving it around. I don't care if it overlaps, if it comes back around. It doesn't matter to me. It's just adding to the thickness of the mummy. My main concern right now is just getting it covered and not breaking my needle. So anywhere it falls, just start stabbing that in. This is way different than the other types of felts that I do because the bottom doesn't have to look super great. Nobody's going to see this part. It's all going to be covered with the bandages. So now I'm going to go down because the wire's right in here. So I'm going to go down to avoid the wire. Staying at an angle as I keep turning. Got a little close to some wire there, so I just changed the angle of my needle. The main thing here too is or another thing here I should say, is we just don't want any of these loose fibers. So you want to go ahead and get this, you know, make sure that's all somewhat felted down. It doesn't have to be a thick, hard felt, it just has to be felted down. Anywhere you see those little loose fibers, just hit them with your needle. This is the therapeutic part of this project. To me, it's just very relaxing just to felt. Feel it hitting the neck there, so I just want to be super careful. I'm going to slow down my needle here. Get another little layer. Go ahead and cover the head. Just fold it over. It does not have to be perfect in any way whatsoever. Really careful in this area where you have all your wires. It can be a little bit more free back here. Sometimes if you keep an armature, like you make 2 of them and you keep an armature out, let's see if I can grab one, you can just look at it and see like where your needle or where your wire is, just as a reminder where the majority of it is. That was helpful for me in the beginning. Now I just know you may not need that at all. Just getting these little frayed edges down. This is kind of like the prep work when you're painting. So you have to do all that prep work before you actually get the layer of paint on. And that's what we're getting ready for here. So I'm going to wrap the arms. Here you can just go ahead and wrap pretty tight. And by doing that, you won't have to felt as much. You won't have to use your needle as much. The end of the hand does not matter. That is totally going to be covered up. This is where I stopped. I'm going to tack that in. That'll be covered. Take another piece, hold it down, go pretty tight on the arm here. I love this winter white. You can really see the contrast between the cornwool and this white. Okay, we're almost to the fun part, you guys. It's looking good. It's already looking like a mummy. Okay, let's do the legs. Again, I'm going to try to pull a layer off. And then this is the way it naturally wants to go, so I'm going to pull it that way. Let's see if I can get this leg. This is a big piece. It's different than when we did the roving, but it's not going to matter as long as I can get it on there tight. And then we're just going to go, now you can see it's covering that heel. I'm going to go around the foot. And I'm just going to try to come back up as best I can up here. Wherever it stops, just tack that down. Get this end down so it doesn't unravel. And you can really see, once we get that layer on, how our heel is looking. It's all covered. Okay, last leg, and then the fun begins. This is already fun, but the real fun begins. Just make sure it's tight. You're working with a big flat piece. Get the heel and around the foot. Same thing as the ends of the arms or the hands. You don't need to worry about the end of this foot because we are definitely going to have a bandage covering that. Okay. Woo, what happened there? Let's see. I'm just going to pull that up a little bit. Now, if we miss anything, we can always go back after the bandages. If you can see through and you can see any of this, like right here you can see a little bit, you could either fix it now or there is a place later where you can fix it as well. I just like to get it all covered. Okay. So this is what your mummy should look like now. There's still some fuzzies, but it's gonna be okay. He has some thighs. He doesn't look like there's a separation here. It's got these cute little dumpy legs. I love it. So now we're gonna move him aside and we are gonna make his bandages. So I have this piece of felt. It is 20 inches by approximately 6. And I say approximately because it changes kind of as it goes down. So the end here is 5.5. That's because it doesn't really matter how you cut these bandages. It's gonna look great no matter what you do. So I'm gonna kind of move over to the side a little bit. And you just want to start, see how this is a jagged edge? That was another mummy. It doesn't matter if it's straight, if it's jagged. They all need to be around the same size as far as how thick they are. But even that really does not matter too much. So this is 1/2 inch wide, and you can make them thinner than that if you'd like. Some areas you may need them thinner, you know, if you're just trying to cover up a little piece of something, and then some areas you may need them thicker. So basically you can vary the thickness. They don't have to be perfectly straight. Sometimes I actually kind of cut crooked just to make it look a little bit more authentic. So this will be a crooked cut right here. Everything is perfect. Things don't look natural. That's my opinion anyway. I like imperfections. I think they make things look like it's coming out of a storybook. Okay, I'm going to speed up the rest of this cutting for you guys. Okay, so all the cutting is done. I have arthritis, so that hurts my hand. Okay, so now what we're going to do is find buried here our gray and our purple. Move my needles. So we're going to do the face, and you're going to take a pretty good pinch of gray and then a small pinch of purple. You don't need too much purple. And put them in your hands on top of each other and just start pulling and turning and pulling and turning, and pull it off and put it on top. Pull and turn until you get a really good blend and everything looks natural. If you feel like you have to fold one over like that, you'll see how it's blending. When you turn in a circle, you tend to get a more even blend, I feel. Works better for me than layering and then layering and then layering. I never really get a good blend that way, but this way is great. So just take a look at it, make sure that your purple's pretty well distributed. And then you're just gonna take this and you're gonna lay it across where the eyes would be. So here's an example. And another example. So figure out where your eyes are going to be, which would be, I don't know, about 1/4 of the way down. And you can take your 38 or your 42, whichever you want right now. Doesn't really matter. And you're just going to go ahead, at an angle, felt this down. I saved a little bit of my blend in case I can see the white through this, so I can go back over it. Doesn't really matter what these outside edges look like, they're going to be covered. So you have a little bit of white right there. You can just put it right on top. If you're going to be making a lot of these mummies, you can just blend up a big batch of this. So you have it and you don't have to keep blending every time. They are really addictive. Once you make one, this seems like a big long process, but it's going slower because I'm explaining everything to you. Once you make one, you can really whip these things out. And you can put all kinds of fun things in their arms. So make them a lot of fun. Okay, so his face is done. And then we're gonna go ahead and work on the ends of the hands and the feet. And the reason being is that that is the hardest part to actually like get wrapped right. When you try to wrap over a circle, it's just going to keep doing that to you. So what I have found is the easiest thing is to take a piece, figure out, you're going to want it to fold it over, and it's going to come down about maybe an inch to a half an inch. Just cut that. And then you're going to want 2 of those, one for each hand. Get it, wrap it right around the edge there. And then I'm just going to hold it down. My mat's holding one side, my finger's holding the other side. And I'm going to take my 38 and I'm just going to tack it in, going sideways to not hit armature. I'm going to make sure it stays on the end. And I'm going to tack it into the hand. Okay, so it's really secure. Turn it over and do the same thing. Tack it into the hand. You want to go sideways. You're going to want to be careful as we're putting the felt on now that you're not going down through the arm. And let me show you why. I'm going to take my armature needle. If I were to go straight down through this arm, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be popping the core wool, the white wool, and part of that felt through the entire piece. And you'll see that all over your bandages. You definitely do not want that. This is going to be covered, so it was a great opportunity for me to show you what not to do. So we're always going to want to go sideways on these bandages. Okay, let's do this side. So now when we wrap his arms, we're going to be able to go like this, and the end of his hand is already covered. So let's do the same thing with the feet. The feet are a little different. What we're going to want to do is we're going to cover like we did the toe, but also the heel. So you get a piece and just wrap it around to where the toe and the heel are both covered by the felt. And where that overlaps, kind of hard, it's kind of awkward. Not hard, but awkward. Okay, so where that overlaps, you can cut it. Give yourself a pretty good little overlap, like a half an inch. And it's going to want to slip off the foot. So as you're going, just keep making sure that you are, covering the toe and the heel. That's the main thing here. So just start like maybe above the toe, then below the toe, and we're just trying to tack this bandage in place. Okay. And then I'm going to turn it to where I can see the heel, and I'm going to do the same thing. Being very mindful of wire because I'm using my good needle now. The 38 is a good needle to use on this, on putting the bandages on, because it's stronger. The 42 is more for fine features, like we'll be using that for the eyes. But the 38 is really going to get through this wool and the felt and your core wool and everything. So now I don't even really have to hold it too much. I've got it on around the entire foot. What I have found is if you don't do this part, it's really hard to get the bandages to fit around the foot. And then you end up having this humongous foot. Trust me, trial and error on these guys. Been making them for a few years now. Okay, just going to do that on this one. What I love about doing these kinds of things, because it's not like any of us have ever really seen a mummy like walking around and carrying pumpkins, so we can use our imagination. We can do what we want. Like, one of the things that I love the most is when I do one of these videos and then you guys make it and you adapt it and you change it, send me pictures and show me what you've been able to do, and I love that. I just love that you're taking an idea and running with it and using your own creativity and your artistic and interpretation. That's what it's all about. Helping you imagine new things. Okay, so right there, I went through it. Do you see? Did exactly what I told you not to do. So if that happens, cut it off. I'm just going to press down to make sure I get the full little piece that went through. So press down and cut. All right. That was the hardest part of the wrapping. Okay, now the rest is pretty simple. So you can start wherever you want. I like to start on the torso area or the center of the body. And you're just going to wrap, and you want to overlap probably by half. So my first piece, I started here. If you want, you could tack it down. I don't normally tack it down, but you can, to keep it from flying off on you. So, but you're going to go around, and then you're going to cover it halfway, and just make sure that your pieces are covering about half. And then you're going to go through both pieces of felt at an angle. Not every square inch, just, every now and then. I would say maybe a couple of centimeters. You want this piece to grab the other piece and then down into the wool. Okay, and then keep going. As you are going, just be mindful that you are covering half of that other bandage. And just, this is what it's going to be for the rest of it. Just tacking it down into the other piece to get them to sort of stick together. Now I like to go different directions because it would not look good if everything was perfectly uniform. So I'm going to start here, and I'm actually going to go a different angle, a different direction. I really like your eyes to, you know, have to look and see different things. So I'm going to leave this long piece here, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a second. I'm going to get this all tacked in. Move my 42 there. So I may have to rewrap that because as I'm tacking it, it's pulling away. Just start there. If something like that happens, just pull it off and redo it. It's okay. This is such a forgiving project. If something doesn't look right, you just cover it up with another piece of bandage. Okay, so staying over half of the first bandage. And then I'm going to keep that long piece. Later, we'll go back and we'll hit all of the bandages with the needles. So they'll be felted very well. Right now, we're just tacking down just to keep the bandages in place. Okay. So now with this long piece, I like to have little pieces that kind of are hanging off and sort of frayed at the end. So the natural end of this is going to end over here. So I'm going to tack it down just like we did with everything else. And then when I get to this end part, I'm going to go ahead and just really get that tacked well. Just all different angles. And then I'm just going to let it loose there. And on the end, I'm just going to make some little frayed ends. And then just sort of clip at them. I'm not even looking. I'm just kind of, if you look, it'll never look right. If you just kind of do it, it's going to look natural. Okay. So now I have this part here. It's not covered. If you see any of the pieces of the farm, the little twigs and things, just pull them out. I want to go ahead and I'll cover this. You're just going to start getting creative. You know, look and see what you're covering, what you're not. And I'm going to come back up, maybe go back over that piece, maybe come back down, and then back down. So now I have a layering happening. There it is. And with the layering, it's creating texture and dimension, which I love. Just want to make sure I hit all the pieces that I just put on. And as you start getting thicker on this felt, it is going to get harder to get through it. So, you know, just hold it on there and then give it a little push. Just make sure you're not, you know, close to any wire. If some of these are separated and you can see through it, that is okay. That is why we did the white underneath. It's not gonna, you know, be perfect. It's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for perfection here. We're just looking for something fun. Okay, so instead of going around here, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start around this leg. I like to try different places, different directions and things, just to make it more fun. You see some gaps. As you move it, you'll see some little gaps. Just hit them with your needle. I'm going to go ahead with this one and leave this long with a fringe. I really like how that looks. Okay. Ah, yeah, that little piece that we never tacked down. Let me tack that down real quick. Okay. And really at this point, we're just filling in the gaps. It's like coloring in the lines. can come down here and I can just keep going down this leg. Trying to still overlap. You still want to be overlapped, but it's okay to go different directions. So I can overlap to the left and overlap to the right. And this one, I'm not going to fringe it. I'm just going to tack it in. It can be hard to get that needle through, so just be prepared for that. Okay, I'm going to keep going down the leg. I find that if I just wrap over where I lay it, it's going to stay pretty well. So as I get to the foot, we've already covered the heel and the toes. So now I can just worry about the foot itself, come up, go over and over. And I just want to make sure that the bottom of the foot and the top of the foot are covered. The toes already covered. I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to pull this pretty tight because I don't want a ginormous foot. The tighter you pull it, you know, you can control. Just like when you're pulling your wool, you can kind of control the thickness of things. And we are going to go pretty well over the foot, just to make sure everything stays down. Coffee break. Okay, so this part looks a little funky. So I'm going to push that up on his hiney. That's what I'll call it. I will call it a hiney. Okay, I'm going to push that back up there, and then I'm just going to felt that down. I don't want it hanging down. So now it looks more like you know, a body. He's got a stop here on his hiney, and he's got something up there to make it look like it's separate from his legs, and that's what we want. Okay, so now we're going to do actually like a little Adam and Eve thing. I'm just going to pop it up here at an angle, not straight like a diaper, but just kind of at an angle, go under, and I want to just felt that down. Just so that's secure. And then we're going to figure out what the best way to go is. So I have a little bit of white here, and I have this leg to do. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start to go around this leg. So I've got it felted down here. I can actually turn it and go this direction. But to do that, I have to felt where I turned it. So there'll be like a little fold in that, and that's okay. We're just, you know, putting it in a pretty indiscreet place here. And then I'm gonna go down the leg. Different directions. I can leave that little piece as a fringe if I like. I'm going to do this one at an angle. I went through the leg there. Just cut that off. It's really hard not to go through the leg. And this is kind of interesting piece. I like that, how it's all different sizes. Just double back over that. Oops, let me start that over. There's other legs in the way here. So I'm gonna go over, double back over, and then just keep wrapping down the leg. When I get to the foot, go this way over the top of the foot. It should take about 3 turns to get over that foot. And then I'm gonna pull it really tight, go back up and cut. And just tack that down. Get in the bottom of the foot here. Remember, stay at an angle. A lot of wire in here. We don't want this to end up looking like a big round foot. We really want it to kind of be flat on the bottom. Hitting wire there, so I'm moving. Just gotta figure out where you can go. Oh, he's looking cute. You're so cute. Okay. So, bottom looks good. Let's go ahead and start this way. So, I'm just gonna wrap around the shoulder a couple of times and then around his torso a couple of times. You can cover this, you know, pretty much any way you want. I've just found that, you know, starting over the shoulders, you've got to figure out a way to get from the torso to the arms. So starting over the shoulders really helps. I love the layering of the bandages. When you start getting this layering effect, it just looks so cool. It starts to really look cool. That's one piece that I had frayed. I'm going to pull that back out. I'm going to fray this end, so I'm going to tack this down really well. Anytime you leave it loose, you've got to tack it down. If you find a better way to fray this, or if it looks more natural, let me know. You can always find me on Facebook, or you can Just leave comments. Let me know what you discovered. Love that. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm just gonna start over the shoulder. Pull it kind of tight over that shoulder. And then I'm gonna go under the arms, and then I'm gonna go back over this shoulder. I'm just looking at what needs to be covered, and then I'll go ahead and go down this arm. Yours might work out totally different, where you have to do the shoulder or the arms differently than I'm doing it. So that's the beauty of this part of the project, is your pieces are going to be different than my pieces, and you just have to figure out how they look best on your mummy. I will make this part frayed. And just clip, clip, clip. Make sure it stays down. Just be really careful with the wire. Ooh, he's looking like a little ninja now. Okay, so I need to finish this hand. And I'm going to start a little bit of a longer piece. Just come around the hand. This is why we cover this end, so it makes it just so much easier. And I'm going to cut. Bring it back up and just tack it down. Making sure not to go all the way through the hand. Just need to go to the wool underneath. Go sideways. And then this piece, I'm just going to go ahead and tack down. It gets really tough to get through. You may find that you need to pull out a 36 or even a 32 if it gets hard for your fingers to push that needle through. Okay, so a little bit there. I'm just gonna give that a little tip of fringe. So take a look as you're getting closer to the head and just see where you need little pieces. So this might be a point where, you know, you need to cut a little piece just to cover something if you can't get it to fall in your wrap well. I have a little gap here and I have to do the head. So I'm going to wrap it around that little gap, and then I'm going to come to the neck. I do want to sort of make sure that we can still see that he has a neck. And then I'm going to start going around the head. Remember, there's a lot of wire here. This is where I've got lots of twists in the wire. So just be careful. And I'm still just doing what we did in the beginning. I'm felting this one piece to the piece under it. If there is no piece under it, I'm just felting it to the wool. Sometimes it won't catch that piece. and that's okay. Just keep felting it down. So you can make a few choices here. You can have it go around like this to where you can see both of the eyes. Um, you can pull it like this to where you can only see one eye peeking through, kind of like that. I like to see both of the eyes. Sometimes the bandages, sometimes they just lay funny and you have to only have one eye poking through. So it's however your bandage falls. But you can also manipulate it. You can get a shorter piece, you can cut it, whatever you have to do. Make sure you do get it really good into this face area. We don't want that moving, especially once we get our eyes on. So this is kind of cool. So this is exactly what I was talking about. So you have this piece just happens to have a wide end and it's thinner here. So when I pull this down, it's going to kind of like cover part of that eye area. I like that. So I'm just going to leave it. If I didn't like it, I could just clip it. Each one's different and they all come out so differently. I'm going to leave that like a loose little flap. And then I'm just going to start here and go back. Go around. Holding as I turn it. Anything that doesn't look right, just tuck it in. In the center of the head, you have a little bit more leeway because you know there's no wire right there, but still be careful. Sometimes the wire just tends to have a mind of its own and flip around in there. So I just want to get all of my body covered. Just focus on where you can see that white coming through. And then I'm going to go ahead and come up and I'm going to end it right here. Leave that. Well, we need to make sure he has a neck. I think I can still get both of his eyes in there. Anything that looks like it's just sort of popping off or doesn't look right, you know, just take your time just to felt that down. I'm gonna move that down a little bit. Just really want to make sure I get some eyes in there. You don't have to if you don't want to. I don't want this right up over my face, so I'm going to sort of move this down, manipulate it over here. I already have this little flap, which I love. Okay, for the top of the head, you are going to take a little bit more of your white felt, and you're just going to kind of cut triangle, but we don't want it to be perfect. Just sort of make it imperfect. Ugly it up, basically. And then you're going to lay that right over the top. Now, if you want to do this part before, like when we did the ends of the hands and the feet, you can. I just always end up doing it at the end of the project. But you can do it in the beginning. It doesn't matter. It's just going to blend in with the rest, so it's going to look okay. Okay. We have this arm to do. I'm going to go ahead and tack this one down. Since I can't overlap it, that's when I'll tack it down. Going different directions, right and left. Now, if it turns out that you get to this part and you did not have enough of your bandages, just cut some more. No problem. That's about how much I normally use, with a little bit left over for patches. So it helps me when I go and buy the fabric in bulk. I kind of know how much I'm going to need if I'm going to want to do 20 of these mummies, which I have had an order for 20 at one time. Okay. All right. So I'm going to cut that one off. I think I have enough of the dangles. Sometimes it's really hard to get through that felt. All right. It's looking pretty good. Have a little gap here. So this is where you can kind of come in and do some patches. This is the piece that I had for the head. I always like to do triangles. I think the triangles just look more natural. I really don't know why. And I can just fill that little gap in. If it's a weird shape, just cut that shape. This is looking loose to me. So anything that looks like loose or, you know, doesn't look right, just tack it down. Right up under his arm, loose. You do want to make sure that the arms are pretty good, because they will be moving and carrying things. He's looking good. I'm really happy with him. This one doesn't have any fringe, so let me fringe that one up. Just take a look and see what you think needs to happen and start correcting. I like when it's not normal, like 2 pieces are long, 1 piece is short. I like that. There's some, you can see some white here. So you can also make a choice, like if I didn't want to put another piece of the bandage there, I could also do a little bit of the purple Actually, I still have some blended. I can do a little bit there, and I'll just do it to show you, and I can just pop it in. And so it looks like his skin is showing through the bandage. And that's always kind of cool too. Get my 42. So, you know, if that's what his skin looks like and you have a big gap, then you can always put it through. I did that here. I gave him some on his knee, some of his hand. Otherwise, he's pretty covered and looking pretty good. So let's do his eyes. I just have to go, let me get my black. I'm going to pull off 2 little pieces about the same size. I'm going to fold them into a circle shape somewhat. And I'm just going to place them where I think the eye should go. I'll start with this left one with my 42. I'm just going to start poking it in. I don't want a completely round circle because human eyes are not just a round circle like when we do cute little bunnies and stuff. I'm trying to sort of make this an eye shape, like an oval with pointed ends here. But we do fold it into a circle just to get started. This one I'm going to do under this little flap that I left there. Move that up some. And then you can just felt in the center of that, continuing to make your shape with the needle by pointing from the edges into the center. And you want to just keep watching your other eye and just make sure that on your other eye that you're getting these about the same size. Even though he's a mummy and anything could happen to his eyes when he died, right? We don't know. That's what's so great about make-believe. Nothing has to be perfect. Okay. So there's his eyes. And he is looking really good. Now you have some options at this point. You can either just make him a sitting mummy, or you can stand him. It's not going to stand on his own. I will take these and sometimes paint them black. You can also get a marker, like let me just do it for you here. So this is my Master's Touch alcohol marker. And you can actually just go over it with this. I have black and brown. I can find my brown. I like to do this just all different directions on these. He's a Halloween mummy. Nobody's going to pay a lot of attention to this base. And sometimes, again, like the lines and that kind of thing are actually giving texture. I'm running out on that side. Let me turn it over. Oh, that'll be a sad day when I run out of my marker. I use this thing for everything. I was always the kid that liked to get my hands dirty, so I don't care if I'm marking on myself. But you don't have to mark on yourself. So I would go over that with some brown. Let me see if I can just find the brown. Huh. I don't know where that went. This is gray. And do it with gray too. Just to sort of cover up the white and give it a little bit more dimension. Actually, gray looks really nice. I haven't done it with the gray. I've done it with the black and the brown. So it just gives it a little bit of like shading and some dimension there. And then I'm going to set this aside. And okay, I had to set that aside for a minute so that I could get my hot glue gun going. And I'm going to go ahead, move my felting mat here. Do not like glue around my felting mat. I'm going to go ahead, figure out like how I want him to stand. So sometimes it's cool, like if you make them kind of in like one foot in front of the other position. So it's not like he's just a mummy just standing there. So like that, looks like he's kind of walking. Remember, he has the wire, so you can really make him stand up straight or bend over, or whatever you want him to do. So I'm gonna kind of do this little, like one foot in front of the other. And I'm gonna take my glue gun, which is not wanting to behave right now. Glue the bottom of his feet. And I'm gonna go ahead and place his feet down in that position. On this little base. These bases I got on Amazon, so I will put the link for these and the name on Amazon. I am actually a brand new Amazon affiliate, so I'll list all the supplies here that I used today, and if you need anything and you want to use my link, I will get a small little commission. And actually it'll probably be the first one I ever got if you do it today, because I have not done it yet. So that should be pretty cool. So now that he's down, so this, you could leave him just like this if you want. That's fun. Or you could choose to make some small little things that you could put in his arms. So I made this little candy kiss. You could put that in his arms, or a little baby pumpkin, which is always fun. And another one that I did, that I sold, I did a jack-o'-lantern, so it wasn't pretty like this, it had a face on it. You can do hearts. This one's fuzzy. You can do hearts, different ones. You can double the heart. There's just like, it's endless possibilities of what you can do. I think for this one, I'm gonna go ahead, let's make him, yeah, I like this heart. I'm gonna do it at an angle. I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue where you can't really see it from the front. I'll do this arm first. This is a bigger mummy, so a bigger heart would be really nice. It'd be a great way to say I love you at Halloween. And then we will do this side of the heart towards the back. And just make it fall naturally right there into his arms. A little glue fell on the bottom. Pull that off. Get it off my table. That's why I moved my felting mat. Now, if you wanted to, you could even take like the pumpkin and put it at the base of his feet if you wanted to. You can do anything. You can even take some locks and put some locks down there. Some black and gray locks would look really cool with this. The other thing that you could do if you wanted, there's a few different things that I've done. So one is makeup. You can take paintbrushes. I have some of my paintbrushes here. You could take some paintbrushes. I'll get the thicker one. And you can get one of these darker colors or even a gold, whatever you want. I think the two dark colors mixed looks really good. And put your finger under the fringes here and just sort of very lightly brush. And then that way it's kind of like that's a torn bandage. So all of these little things that you do add dimension and, you know, like another layer for your eyes to look at. This of course didn't mention these supplies in the beginning just because you don't have to do these to make this mummy, but it's fun. It's fun to do it. So if you want to go the extra mile, you definitely could do that. Get this one over here. It's really just endless, like I said, endless possibilities. You could totally deck this guy out. You put a little bit of a copper color on this one, brown. So see how that gives it a whole new look? Just do it right over your finger. There's some down here. I'll try to turn it so you can see that piece. There. So I could keep going with this guy, but I'm just gonna stop there. They're so much fun to make. I hope you have really enjoyed this, and make sure that when you are purchasing this, you buy enough, because I am going to show you how to make some ghosts. That'll be my coming up next, and that'll be my next tutorial. If you have questions and you want to know like how I made any of these little things, you know, they're pretty simple, but if you do want to know how I made it, you know, I might be able to slip in another little tiny tutorial on how to make these things that these guys can hold, because the ghosts can hold them as well. So just let me know if that's something that you want. If you want that, I will be happy to do that for you. Otherwise, that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to stop and watch what I have to offer for you. I hope you really have enjoyed it. And find me on Facebook. It is More Fun with Felt on Facebook, and let me know what you've done. Show me pictures of the mummies that you made, and I would be happy to even share them, you know, with the people that follow my Facebook page. I like to show off what my viewers have done. And you can also purchase any of the items that I have felted on my Shopify account. It is www.morefunwithfelt.com, and you can also find me on Instagram at morefunwithfelt. So those are just some ways to find me. I would love to hook up with you on Facebook, and I hope to see you there. And coming up next is the ghost, so please be sure to tune in for that, and I will talk to you again later. Thank you so much for coming today. Bye-bye.